Today we'll talk about slope as a review, kind of all encompassing, and then we're going to barely hit on parameter changes at the very end just to re-spiral that in. So let's go ahead. Slope is, we now have a very good encompassing definition of slope, but you got to remember all of them because who knows what it's going to look like on your unit tests or what it's going to look like on the STAR test. So slope is, very basic definition of slope would be the angle of the line. The angle of the line. Okay? Very basic definition, right? And you don't have to write this, but that's positive, negative, 0, and no. Okay? Or undefined. 4 different types of slope, right? Second thing that we've talked about is slope is the number with x after you solve for y. Okay? Not hashtag, that's number. Number with x after you solve for y. Now, we know it doesn't always have to be x. It could be like m or g or c or something. But it's that number with the variable after you solve for y. Okay? The third thing that we know with slope is it's the rise over the run. Right? We've talked about that. How much you go up versus how much you go over. Correct? And it's also, this one might not look very familiar to you, but you've done it. It looks like triangle y. That delta means change. The change in y over the change in x. Okay? Now that might look different, but what that basically means is this, and this probably does look familiar. Subtracting the y's and subtracting the x's. Okay, that slope formula. Alright, and then the last thing is when you have y equals mx plus b, that m right there, that's the slope. So slope has all of these definitions, and you do have to memorize all of them because I don't know if they're going to give you rise over run, or slope formula, or the equation, or ask you about the angle of the line. But you got to know all of them. Okay? So first, let's start with equations. Okay? So what is the slope of this equation? Well, some of y'all would be like 2. I'm done. 2. Number with x, I'm good to go. But no. Slope is the number with x after you solve for y. So we're going to solve this for y. Your y, 3 is your best friend. Get rid of the 2x. Opposite of positive 2x is negative 2x. Okay? 3y comes down. My symbol comes down. And then I cannot subtract these things because they're different, so I have to put them side by side. You could put the 12 first, or you could put the negative 2 first, which I'm going to do. But you could put the 12. And the opposite of, or this is a positive 12, so I put plus 12 here. Okay? I divide everything by 3. This goes away. Y. Does my sign flip? No, because my best friend was not negative, so this is going to stay the same. Negative 2 divided by 3. In your calculator. Negative 2 divided by 3. You get a long decimal. Math, enter, enter. And it's negative 2/3. Okay? So negative 2/3. Bring your x down. And a positive 12 divided by 3 is a positive 4. Now what some of y'all have been doing is just circling that and giving me your answer. But I want to know what the slope is. And the slope is the number with x, right? So you're going to write slope is negative 2/3. Okay? Done. Equations. Y'all are getting pretty good at that. So the equations are good. Okay? What if they give you points? Slope from points. We've also done this. I just want to refresh. So there's 2 ways to do this, and we're going to do both. The way that we've done it here is slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? So I'm going to label these real quick. This is x and y, and x and y. This would be 1, and this would be 2. Okay? So y2 minus y1, y2 is 7, so 7, always minus, and then y1 is 4, over x2 is 5, minus x1 is negative 1. We gotta make sure we put that negative 1 there, right? 7 minus 4 is 3. 5 minus negative 1. If you're not sure about stuff like that, you just put that in the calculator and you'll get positive 6. Good. What some of y'all are forgetting to do, though, is divide. 3 divided by 6. So 3 divided by 6, I get 0.5. So you could put 0.5, but slope, we'd rather have fractions, which is 1/2. So you're going to write in a complete sentence, slope is 1/2. This should not be new. We've done it before several times, but we got to practice it. Okay? Another way, I'm going to draw a little squiggle here. Another way you might have learned how to do that in your algebra class is to make a table. So you could, if you wanted to, make a table. We didn't do that in here, but you have, like, I know you've done it in your other classes. So -1, 4, and 5, 7. And I'm sure they told you could subtract either way. Like, you could do 4 minus 7 or 7 minus 4. It doesn't matter. I'll just do 4 minus 7. So if you do 4 minus 7, you get -3. And if you do -1 minus 5, you get -6. And then you do that number divided by that number, right? So -3 divided by -6 is 0.5, or math enter, you get 1/2. It's the same. Okay? I'm not going to write it again. It's just the same. Now, if that makes no sense to you, you use this. That's fine. If you like this and you use it well in your math class, then go ahead and do that. I don't care as long as you get the right answer and you're showing your work. Okay? So if you're given points, this is a good way to do it. Now, you don't have this graph, so I just want you to look at it. But what if you'd have a graph like this? Okay? Now, you don't have a graph. You're just going to look at what I'm doing here. But I do want you to write graphs on your paper and then write these steps. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to find 2 good points. Okay? That's the first thing. So you have to look and find a good point. Normally your y-intercept will be a good point, and that is true here. That's a good point. But don't pick a point that doesn't hit it perfectly. This is another good point right here. Okay? So just find 2 good points. Okay? Then the second thing you do with a graph is you do rise over run. Always start at the left point. So here to here, I'm going to have to go down. So I'm going to count. I go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -5, because I'm going down. That's -5. And then I go over 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 5 over 4. Okay, which means rise over run, -5 over 4. And then I have to divide that. So, -5 divided by 4. I get -1.25, but I like fractions for slope. Makes it better. And it's just the same thing, -5 over 4. So slope is -5 over 4. Okay, which makes sense. That's a negative number. This is a negative slope. It all works out. Okay? If you're not really good at rise over run, what you could do is write the points out. So this is 0, 5, and this is 4, 0. And then you could do slope formula, that y2 minus y1 stuff. You could do that as well. So that's another way to do this. Okay? So that's the different ways of slope, and that's a review. Now real quick, let's go into parameter changes. So pause and write this down real quick. Let me move my finger out of the way. There we go. Review parameter or graph changes. We've done this before, but it's been a while. I want to make sure that we remember the stuff we've talked about. Okay? Where m is the slope, and this b, the number not with x, is the y-intercept, where the line crosses the y-axis. Okay? Now m. I'm going to switch pens here real quick so we can actually write everything. M. There's 2 different things to remember about m. Okay? 1, 2. First one. If it gets closer to 0, it gets less steep, or you could think of it as flatter. Okay? Closer to 0 is less steep or flatter. If it gets further from 0, it gets steeper. Or, I mean, there could be other words that your algebra teacher have taught you for that, but basically it means the same thing. So this is 0 slope. As it's getting closer to 0, it's getting flatter, 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 and less steep. As it's getting further away from 0, it's getting steeper, 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 steeper. Okay? And the y-intercept is easy. There's only one thing with the y-intercept. It either shifts the graph up or down. And then remember, if you're confused by the y-intercept, actually draw yourself a little y-axis and then count it. And then real quick, remember that parallel lines have the same slope. Parallel lines have the same slope. Okay? So, I'm going to put that to the side so we can refer back to it. Pause and write that down real quick. And if you remember when we've done this, we have to compare two things. We have to compare the slope and the intercept. So let's look at the slope right now. I'm going to put a little 1 here. The slope was 3, and now it's 6. So it was 3, now it's 6. Did it get closer to 0 or further from 0? Well, it got further from 0, right? So remember, further from 0 is steeper. So I'm going to put the line will be steeper. Okay? Period. Okay? And then we have to compare the y-intercept. This is positive 4, and this is positive 1. So did it go up or did it go down, or is it the same? Well, it was positive 4, and now it's positive 1, so it went down. So I'm going to put shift down. And how much did it shift down? Well, if it was 4 and now it's at 1, it went down 3. And yet again, if that's hard for you, you would need to draw a line and figure it out. Okay? So, last one and then we're done. Replace. If y equals 2x plus 7 and you replace 7 with negative 1, how does the graph change? Okay? Remember when we did this, and you might see this on a test coming up, we rewrite the equation. And then it says to replace the 7 with a negative 1. So y equals 2x. So instead of positive 7, it's minus 1. And I got to compare them, right? Yet again, you compare the slope and the intercept. So the slope here is 2. The slope here is 2. It's the same. Do not put same slope, though. Remember, you need to put that the lines are parallel. Because parallel lines have the same slope. Okay? Now it's at positive 7 to negative 1. So did it shift up or down, or is it the same? Well, it went down, so shift down. And if you don't know about how much, you can draw a line and start at 7. But if we can just count off, if you're at 7, you go to 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1. And if I count that, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it shifted down 8. Okay, that's it. Go ahead and get your assignment. Ask questions if you need to.